Hey, welcome to the channel today. Today I am answering swimming questions that come in. This is your invitation. Do you have a swimming question? I would love to hear your swim question so I can answer it for you. I am all about getting you moving, getting you on the way. Most of these videos come to you because they are conversations that we have with students. So I would love to hear your questions. Put your questions down in the chat, email them to us, put it on one of our social pages, wherever it is. We are looking for your questions and I'm delighted to answer it. All right, so let's dive right in. All right, today's question that I'm going to answer from a swimmer just like you, we want to hear your questions, is how do I overcome my fear and start to be comfortable in the deep end? All right, so there's lots of kind of pieces to this, but I'm going to dive into a few parts of it to get you started. So how do I overcome my fear? That's the first part. Now this takes a minute. We need to actually see, well, what exactly am I afraid of? Because fear is just sort of this big nebulous thing. And if we want to overcome the fear has something to do with what you're thinking about, what you're worried about, or if you're triggering your fight or flight or freeze, that panic response. Right? When the bad guy jumps out at the movie, I'm startled, I feel fear. So we need to understand, first of all, what exactly is at the root of the fear. And I don't mean like, let's go do lots of therapy around all our childhood wounds and stuff, but maybe a little bit, because it could be rooted in something bad happened in the past, and I don't want to repeat that again. And so I'm in the habit of feeling fearful when I go around the water because it's really about this memory from the past. I'm not actually taking in the information of this exact moment to really take in the information to see, is there actually something right now that I need to feel fear about? Oftentimes when people come to class, they first come to class, and of course we're nervous and anxious, like, am I going to get it right? Or am I going to look foolish? Is everybody going to be better than me? Do I know where I'm going to go? You know, all those kinds of normal questions that we have about going someplace new. So there's that set of fear stuff. But people can be sitting next to the pool and feel fear. And this is because they're anticipating a possible future scenario that they should be afraid of, that seems dangerous to them, seems unpleasant to them, or they're remembering from the past. And so we want to get in and see, all right, and I don't mean get in the water, but get into ourselves. Give yourself a moment. You can do it now. Imagine yourself sitting next to a body of water and see, do I feel fear? And to start to notice where that fear is coming from. We want to get into the practice of bringing yourself into the exact physical time you're in right now, which, if you're sitting next to a body of water, is there anything to actually be fearful of? Is my brain just going to all these scenarios that really don't pertain to the actual what's happening right now? People will ask me questions about, well, what happens when I get in the middle of the ocean? And I say, well, first let's find out how you're getting to the middle of the ocean. We're asking this grand theoretical question that is causing us a lot of fear right now to a scenario that is really probably pretty unlikely for most people most of the time. And it isn't until you're in a situation where you have some possibility of ending up in the middle of the ocean that you actually want to, like, okay, we could stop and address that and see what would we do. Bringing yourself in and really starting to understand, what am I actually afraid of? Now, the other thing I'm going to give you on this is to think about the thing that people are most afraid of, but don't have a lot of awareness about it because it's so basic. is at the end of the day, most swimming fears come down to, I'm afraid I won't be able to breathe, and I don't trust myself to figure it out. Those are the top two things when we really boil it down. I am afraid that I won't be able to breathe and that I'm not trustworthy. Not trustworthy to figure it out. I don't trust myself to not go to the clinic. I'm not trustworthy to not repeat that same mistake that happened in the past. I'm not trustworthy about putting myself into too big of a situation that I can't handle, right? Most of our fears kind of boil down to those two areas. So back to our question of how do I overcome my fear? It starts with really identifying that. All right, I'm going to save the second part because this was a long answer. I'd like to hear from you. If you need help figuring out where is that fear, how do I then unravel this and start to go into the second part, which is to start to be comfortable in the deep end. The short answer of start to be comfortable in the deep end is starting in the shallow end of how do I unravel fear and actually recognize it early in the shallow end. All right, have fun learning to trust yourself. I can't wait to see you in Hawaii. Aloha.